What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is a get to know me. It's gonna be a little bit different to the ones that have come before it. We are doing a series of questions. And yeah, this list will be in the description down below. If you would like to answer any of them in the comments, that'd be cool. But there's 20 of them, and I want to try and get through this as quickly as possible. So let's jump straight in. Where did you grow up is the first question. The answer to that question is all over. I have had in my lifetime 14 different addresses. Two of which I have no memories in. It was sort of when I was a toddler and a newborn. Second question, what did I do for fun as a child? I created my own fictional world, which is, as I've gotten older and obviously put more into it, it's now a fictional universe, which is really exciting to write stories in, because not only do I have a full universe, I've also got a full timeline of events that happen. Most of my more grounded they happen in the real world stories have a major overlapping plot point, and that particular plot point might not be until the end of one particular story, but it might be the very beginning of a different one, or it could show up squarely in the middle. And the reason that those ones have all sort of happened that way is because I like looking at this one sort of nexus point of all my stories, and seeing a bunch of characters going through different levels of character growth, because that's, if you go to a party tomorrow, there's a very real possibility that the other people there are not at the same point in life as you are, and I liked that idea. I then have some that sort of take place after an undisclosed apocalypse. I'm still trying to decide what kind of an apocalypse I would like to have in my universe. And yeah, I also have sort of a more sci-fi side of my universe. It sort of splits off, finds sort of this idea of parallel dimensions and alternate planes of existence and that sort of thing. And then one of those is a purely high fantasy setting as well. So it's all sort of in there, mixing around. Yeah, pretty fun. Who was a role model in your life? My nan, who passed away in 2003. I think it was 3. I was 7 or 8 at the time. Sure, it was 2003. But yeah, so since then, it's just sort of been a recurring thing of wanting to make sure that I live a life that would make her proud, which, considering that she was a sort of devout Christian woman, means that she probably almost definitely made it into heaven. So I've just got to live a life full of, helping people and advocating for equality and that sort of thing. All of those sorts of ideals have come from her, and sort of my inner drive to see her again. Did I have any childhood pets? I actually did a count before, 15. But 14 addresses, we had 15 pets. Not every address had pets. Some addresses, you know, like some pets saw multiple addresses. That's the way that goes around. Yeah, and there has been a time where we had 5. I think 5 has been sort of the highest number of animals we've ever had at a time. At 16, I had 16 pets. I completely forgot about the goat. Yes, we had a pet goat for a time. That was probably the most outlandish pet too. We were very original in his name. His name is Billy. He was Billy the goat. William Gruff, as we call him. When I was young, what did I want to be? I've always wanted to do something creative. Is sort of the funny thing. Like, sure, there have been times where it's like, I want to be a policeman, or I want to be a doctor, or I want to be, whatever else. An astronaut. Your general 3 and 4-year-old boy sort of answers. And then, around sort of 6, 7 sort of thing, I sort of started realizing that actors get to sort of live a day in the life of these professions without really having to sign up permanently to them. And so sort of the longest standing one was, I want to be an actor, Then as we sort of moved around during my childhood and stuff, I started creating my stories and my little world in my head. Yeah, and so from that came the want to be an author, and then I started studying film, and I put the authoring into my script writing, the wanting to act into, the belief that everybody can act. We do it every day. If you've ever told a lie and gotten away with it, you acted. So when people tell me, oh, I can't act, bullshit. If you're not interested, just say you're not interested, because you can act. You're doing it right now. You are showing me a particular side of yourself that you want to present. All I'm asking you is to present a completely different side to the camera. Everybody can act. Not everybody can act well. I will put as the stipulation. But I'm going to go full Gusto from Ratatouille and say that anybody can act. Number 6, what family traditions are important to you? There is one where the eldest born male child of a generation gets this, like, the family middle name. My pop had it, my brother has it, my nephew has it. It, for whatever reason, skipped my dad, but I'm pretty sure it came from my great-grandmother. Pretty sure it was her actual name, which you're probably wondering, how does a woman's name become a male's middle name? Her name was Gordon. Bit of a funny one, but we've always had a funny name. My last name is Cambrell. It's not Campbell. It has an R in there and no P. But the amount of times we get Campbell written on things that are supposed to be official is infuriating. So we've always had weird names. So yeah, questions we've got. I don't think of any others, but I'm sort of in the unique position where they don't really apply to me. Like I said, my brother's got it, my nephew's got the middle name one. I'm probably going to take it in essence and apply it to my own, sort of starting with me, my family, from me forward sort of thing, where the eldest born male child will get my middle name. So yeah, I think that'd be kind of cool. Other than that, there's not really any. There's probably like little things, like, you know, having a movie night and take out on Friday night sort of thing that I might implement again. We used to do that at one point. I might implement that again at some point in my future. Other than that, I don't know if there's any traditions that we have per se. We're sort of a, you know, go with the flow, adapt to the times sort of a family. What's my favourite childhood memory? So this question and the next question, which is what was my favourite childhood possession? Both of these apply to the same address that I used to live at in 1999. And there's another story from that same house that I've already got a video that I'm planning to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the evidence of my childhood memory, because we made plates, and I distinctly remember where I was sitting, where my brother was sitting, where my mother was sitting. The fact that she was 98, because she was pregnant with my sister, but my sister was born in 99. And like, my sister's born on the 5th of January. There's no way that we made it before then. But yeah, I have a couple of memories from that place. So yeah, I can show you guys the plates that myself and my brother made. My favourite childhood possession was probably my teddy bear, you know, like my best friend. And yeah, probably my best friend. And I'll sort of do a show and tell when I tell my other story. So yeah, what challenges did I experience when I was young? I still kind of experience some of these as well. The way they come across is just vastly different now that I'm an adult, but middle child syndrome is a joy. Not. I definitely suffered a lot of that. And I can make a whole video on that as well, because there's evidence to my parents trying actively to avoid, you know, feeding into that middle child syndrome as well. So I do have some examples there as well, of like the evidence that I know that it actually happened, because my parents made efforts to avoid it on particular occasions. The next question, number 10, is what was the defining moment from my childhood? I've been struggling with this one. I've actually got here that I was going to explore this in another video, but I think it might have just been first and foremost when my nan passed away, because that's sort of like, okay, well, like she was the first grandparent that I lost, and so I think that also sort of plays into why her memory in particular is one that I want to honour. And then sort of the second one was after I lost my second grandparent, which was my mother's stepdad. We used to call him Grumpy. And sort of during that, sort of the aftermath of that, it was when my mum got admitted to a sort of mental health ward, and that sort of kicked off my advocacy for mental health. So I think those two things are sort of the major defining moments of my life. From my childhood particularly. What family member am I closest to? I'm a black sheep in a flock of grey sheep. I'm different, but not really that different from any of the others, sort of thing. You know, like there might be another sheep in my flock that has darker grey than the rest, but they're still grey. And there might be another that has, you know, the same spot of white on their forehead or whatever. I'm going too deep into this metaphor, but you get the idea. There are similar things that I have with this relative that I don't have with that relative, but I have that in common with them that I don't have in common with them, and you get the idea. So picking a closest relative is actually quite difficult, but I think if I had to pick a singular one, it would be my youngest nephew on my youngest cousin. I don't know why I said nephew. The person I'm thinking of is and identifies as female. So I don't know. Anyway, my cousin. On my dad's side. So her second born, for a lot of his childhood, was the middle child. So I can relate to him with that. And then obviously being a mother herself, I can sort of get a general idea of what a mother's reaction to a particular thing could be from my cousin. And so we're able to have sort of those sorts of conversations about like the big issues. Being on my father's side, they also share the grandparent of my nan. So, you know, we've got that in common as well. And then we just enjoy doing very similar things. Like they came up sort of, I don't know if it was I think it might have been early this year. Yeah, they came up early this year. And or late last year, because I was still with my girlfriend then, and we broke up in November. So it was late last year. They came up for a bit of a holiday, and while they were up, one of the things they did was they went to there's sort of like a water park, aqua park sort of thing up near Port Macquarie, and I went there with them. Just as like one example of things that we do in common, which is fun. Yeah, if I had to pick one relative, it would be them. How close am I with my parents? Fairly close, I would say. Yeah, there's a lot of life, and that's sort of, you know, pulled the relationship out a little bit. You know, so there might be times where we'll meet in sort of a negative space and there's just no seeing eye to eye on a particular thing, and you know, that's based on how I've sort of grown as a person and how they were brought up and how their beliefs and whatnot have changed over the years and the sorts of things that they're dealing with and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. The next question though is, how has your relationship with your parents changed over the years? And I'm going to do separate videos for how my relationship with my mother's changed over the years and for how my relationship with my father's changed over the years. So there'll be 2 videos coming from that one question in order to answer them. Question 14, what's one of the most important lessons I've learned from my family? To value those that support you over blood relation. As the saying goes, in its entirety, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. And that could not be truer for my family. There are some relatives where, like some blood relatives, where there have been times where it's just easier to keep the peace if we didn't interact. And that's not to say that I don't stop caring for them or that I consider them dead to me or anything like that. It's not the case. It's just this relative and I, are close in this regard. They're close with them, but me and this other person, on one or both sides are just sort of like agreeing to disagree and sort of keeping our distance so that we can make the most of all of our other relationships with all of our other relatives. And so if you sort of fit in the box of you care for me, you support me, in through the good and the bad, like you're there to cheer for me in my successes and there to comfort me in my failures. If you can sort of fit those 3 things, with the bonus obviously being that we have something in common as far as likes and interests and hobbies, so that we have something to talk to each other about, then yeah, your family. That actually does answer one of the next questions coming up, which is, what does the word family mean to you? But number 15 is, when does your family cause you distress? And my counter question / answer is, when do people's families not cause them distress? I'm hoping that that's the most normal thing in this entire thing. Like that should be the most relatable thing. It's like, oh yeah, no, his family causes him just as much stress as my Coco Banana's family does. Because I think if they're not causing stress, they're not challenging ideals that you might have, which means that you're not able to sort of get an alternate opinion on the same matter to be able to sort of expand yourself and grow. And realistically, if you're not growing with people, you're gonna stop dealing with them, and you don't really have that option with blood relatives. They are biologically related to you. So I think it's just sort of a survival instinct, maybe, that we've got, that we just sort of challenge our relatives to be the best that they can be by questioning things that we find questionable. And obviously, having that done constantly is stressful. So yeah, question 16, as I've already answered, what does the word family mean to you? Question 17, when you envision your ideal family, what do you see? I see myself, I see my partner, because obviously we're envisioning this, so this is for the future. So myself, my partner, 2 kids, and an encouragement to have some sort of an interest in a sport or physical activity, if they don't want to play a team sport and they don't want to play, like soccer or football, and they don't want to do something like, competitive like dance, then just having the interest to, go running on a Saturday morning, for instance, just so that, I know that they're getting exercise and being healthy. That's one part of what I envision. Thank you. Another part would be, again, being encouraged to have a creative outlet. If they want to have multiple creative outlets, that's fine. They're going to be an artistic kid. Here for it. The arts industry is very much a place that I want to get my hands right into the muck of, and it's the industry that most people think it's okay to, particularly people not in the industry itself, think it's okay to take those people's work, or ask them to do work for free, because it's not seen as actual work. But like, you wouldn't ask Beyonce to sing a song for you without paying her for her time, because we know that that's her job. You know what I mean? I just picked Beyonce because she's, like, if you don't know Beyonce, climb out of a rock, stop watching my videos, climb out from under the rock you're under, and rejoin the world. Having some sort of a creative outlet is going to be encouraged, and then both with that and hopefully I can parent in a way that I can actually effectively get this particular wish across, is wanting my kids to know that, if they mess up, they're human, and I'm not going to get up them for it. Like, I'm not going to be cranky with them. I might be disappointed, maybe they're frustrated, but I will acknowledge their humanity and want them to feel comfortable enough to come to me and tell me when they're not doing so great. Because I think that that's probably my biggest fear for the future, is I'll have kids, and then as they get older, they won't be doing well mentally, and I'll have no idea, despite my efforts. That scares me. Question 18, how vulnerable is your family with each other? Looking at the box here, and all the blood relations there aren't that many. There's one or two maybe that don't fit into this box. We're not counting them, we're just looking at the box, and within that box, non-biologically, blood-related people included, are very vulnerable. For instance, I have a big advocacy for mental health. My friend that lives in Sydney, goes to AFTRS, has a big advocacy for people on the Asperger's autism spectrum, and then disability as a whole. We're both members of, the LGBTQIA plus community. We're both part of the alphabet soup. We're both interested in film, and we know sort of the stresses that come from that, because obviously film's part of the arts industry, and so, sort of from a political standpoint, from a sort of spiritual standpoint, I think they're atheist, and my religion, if you want to call it that, is a non-evangelical one. Like, I'll tell them things that, you know, because it interests me, you know. But if they, at the end of the day, choose not to believe in that, then, you know, it's not my belief that because they choose to believe something different or not believe in anything at all, and, you know, put more trust in science and you know, physical evidence, you know, it's not my belief that choosing to do that or choosing to believe in some other religion is going to send them to hell. You know, like there's not going to be an eternal damnation sort of thing. But like, we can talk about our stresses with work and study. We can talk about our stresses with doing actual film work, where we think the government is failing on, you know, legislation regarding mental health and disability, LGBT. Both of us are white, but, you know, equality, you know, like racial equality, gender equality, it's all sort of in there. Yeah, I think because I'm able to have those conversations with him, he's definitely my best friend. He's a brother to me. So yeah, and he's not the only one that I can have those sorts of conversations with either, which is really good. Number 19, second to last. What is a family trait that isn't necessarily the healthiest? Of the questions that I'm doing today, this is the last one that's going to branch off into its own video. But hypocrisy. I can't stand it when, you know, you do one thing, and then when somebody gets annoyed with that, you tell them, hey, like, justification, and then turn around and tell somebody else that was part of that first situation, but not. Say we've got person A, and then I'm talking to person B, and person A interrupts. I get justifiably, I think, frustrated with the fact that they've just come in and interrupted my conversation to try and put their 2 cents in, instead of just trying to involve them, you know, like they've tried to cut into the conversation instead of trying to join the conversation. I think there's a difference. So yeah, so they've sort of done that, and I've justifiably gotten frustrated with that, and voiced my disapproval of what they've done, and then been told that no, in fact, I'm in the wrong somehow. And then to turn around the next day and have person A tell person B not to cut into their conversation because they wouldn't like it if they did it to them. And it's like, you already did. I can't stand that. And it's happened more times than I have wanted it to. One's more than I wanted to happen, but it's happened far more frequently than that. And our last question, what relatives have the biggest impact on you growing up? My nan, obviously, my pop, my mum's stepdad, Grumpy, my parents. I think your parents have to have a big influence on you. That's part of the job description. My mum being the eldest in her family, my mum's eldest sister, my cousin that I mentioned before, yeah, I think those are it. I should say biggest impact, my grandmother. I can put my grandmother in there. So yeah, parents, grandparents, and then sort of my siblings and my cousin. My cousins on my mum's side are all far younger than I am, so not old enough to have had an impact on my life. And my eldest cousin on my dad's side is sort of very focused on my own lane sort of person. Still involves in family activities and stuff, but predominantly is sort of focused on their own lane. And if you sort of merge into their lane and ask them for advice, they're more than happy to help out, but otherwise they're not really branching out of that. But yeah, that's all I've got for this video. Quickly ask one more question of you. I've already asked that one. What is your negative self-talk? What do you talk yourself out of? What are some of your limiting beliefs? And what do you tell yourself that you wouldn't tell to anyone else? I think for me, the only real one is, and it really sort of answers all four of those questions, is my negative self-talk is that people are judging me. And that, you know, like if I was to go out down the street and vlog tomorrow, the negative self-talk would be that people are judging me in a negative way. And so it then in turn talks me out of vlogging down the street, for instance, which therefore limits my ability to deliver on what I envision as really good videos, really interesting videos, things that aren't just the one frame of this. And then, yeah, it sort of comes across in a negative way of, it's like negative narcissism, you know, like it's negative, but it's also at the same time like thinking that I'm the center of everyone's universe. Like it's negative egotism. It's strange. But what is yours? Let me know in the comments down below. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the notification bell as well if you want to be notified when I upload new videos. If you enjoyed this one, give me a thumbs up. All the questions in the description down below, please answer them in the comments if you would like to. And until next time, keep your heads screwed up.